Hello, anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a handicapping angle episode of my YouTube channel. And before I dive in, I just wanted to mention that, long story short, Monday Morning Handicapping, so the idea of Monday morning quarterbacking, where you go back and reflect on what happened and think about what you coulda, shoulda, woulda done in hindsight. And when I was first getting into horse racing, I didn't have access to a lot of racing forums, wasn't sure how to get them, didn't have an online account. So when I did get a hold of one, I would hang on to it for weeks until I could get another one and just keep looking back at the results from that particular day of the racing form that I had and just look up the patterns and go back and figure out who won and why and what those horses look like before they won their races. So this is the epitome of what I used to do, basically, is go look at who won and make a case for why they won. And I wanted to do that in regards to a race that took place last Sunday, the 28th of July. And what looked to be a knock on the horse at first, I went back after the race and realized that it was actually a positive sign and something I should take with me going forward and keep in my handicapping arsenal. Now, I like to stress that with every race, it's obviously relative to the other runners in the race, the distance, the surface, all that stuff that goes into handicapping. In this particular race, the first race at Del Mar, claiming 16,000, going 1 mile on the dirt. It was not the toughest race, so you could probably make a case for a lot of the horses here, but let's take a look at who ended up winning and what I perceived as a knock at first going against the horse, and in hindsight was probably a benefit. So let's take a look. So the eventual winner was number 3, Dream Princess. And what I first thought was a knock on this horse was that this horse took about a year and a half off between racing, from August 2022, went to the barn, got some rest for a year and a half, and came back in March 2024, where it was entered in a $10,000 claiming event and was purchased out of that race. And this horse had not been available for a claim in a while, had been running for either a higher tag or no tag at all, no claiming tag, and just tougher races. So I thought this John Sadler, who's a good trainer in Southern California, bringing this horse back for $10,000, maybe there was something physically wrong, or the horse just wasn't as good as he once was or was once expected to be. As you can see up here, this horse was originally purchased for $100,000, even though the stud fee for this horse's father is $700,000. So anytime there's a discrepancy like that between the stud fee and the purchase price, you know they thought something highly of this horse, or thought highly of the horse. This horse also started out in maiden special weight, but quickly dropped down the ranks, finally won in a maiden $30,000, and then the next race was purchased for $100,000, which is peculiar to me because they could have had this horse the race before for $30,000. Instead, comes out and buys them for $100,000 next race. I know they want to see him win, maybe, and that bumps up his value, but that was something that I overlooked too. The horse was purchased for $100,000. Even after running for 30, so it seems like maybe they could have waited for him to drop back down again, especially since he didn't win that race where he was claimed for 100,000. But after the claim, came out and won, and then just started his form, kind of went downhill after that. They were some speedy races, and maybe this horse at the time just wasn't up to the task. Well, obviously wasn't. So then he takes that year and a half break, comes in for 10,000, and that's where I thought the red flag was. But in hindsight, if I think about it, after a year and a half, the horse was purchased for $100,000. He has a couple of wins under his belt already. While it may be a drop, it may be a suspicious drop in hopes to protect the horse from actually being purchased and come out and get a win, which it did pretty easily. But also, the people that claim horses, study horses, know horses, and hear rumors, probably know more about how the horse is actually doing than your run-of-the-mill handicapper. So the fact that they purchased him first time out after a year and a half, probably thought there was some life left in him. They had some knowledge or inkling that the horse still had something left. So after they purchased him for $10,000 and he wins that race on the front end, never really challenged, but showed enough speed to stay well away from the pack and go on and win. They switched surfaces from that win to the turf, and he runs a second by a neck. And if you look over here, he actually beat a next time out winner by 3/4 of a length at a $32,000 price tag, so much stiffer competition, and he almost wins and beats a next out winner. After that, they try him on the turf again going long. A pretty speedy race. He kind of runs evenly, and this was a little higher class than his previous race where he ran second. It's an optional claimer, so some claiming eligibility and some non-claiming eligibility. Then after that, they shorten up his distance, which does not seem to be his forte. Change tracks too, change surface. You could totally just draw a line through this last race, just disregard it entirely, in my opinion. Again, another non-claiming event. I'm not sure what they were thinking here, but in this race, they get him back to softer competition, which, again, is relative. If you look at the other horses running in the race, they were struggling to win at the level. To summarize it all, that first purchase off a long layoff like that indicates to me that the horsemen, the people that know horses, if they buy them first time out off a layoff, maybe look a little deeper and see if the horse has some potential, and if his races after that were maybe a little too tough for what this horse's talent level is, reconsider when he, especially if he drops back in for a claiming tag of 16,000 like he did. Just something to think about, something I thought about. It was glaringly obvious after the fact, but yeah, again, something I thought was a red flag. Upon deeper inspection, of course, the benefit of hindsight, looked like a appropriate spot for the horse given the rest of the field. So just thought I would share that with anybody. Something to keep in mind going forward. This can happen with any trainer, so that's why I want to put it under handicapping angles. But yeah, again, just a little food for thought. And on that, let me know what you think. Like or subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.